first thing we would ask is just if you tell us about your motivation for entering this race and why you want this particular seat.
Absolutely. Well, as a younger person, I get this question a lot. Why would you, at this age, consider running for Congress? And I would say that watching for the last couple of years, Washington, and from my level, I'm a county commissioner in Snyder County right now. I was elected in 2007, and part of my job there is to balance the budget, and I've done so without raising taxes. And I'm responsible with funds here at home, but I was very frustrated when I continue to see Washington spend beyond its means. And deficit spending was a big concern. And more I began to watch the agenda of Washington, and there were issues that continue to creep up that cause uncertainty for businesses, whether it's cap and trade legislation, the card check bill, tolling of Interstate 80. Thankfully, that's not an issue anymore, but these are all issues that add uncertainty to the business community. So if you were looking at creating another shift, and you're a business owner that has 2 shifts going strong right now and looking at adding a third, or you're a person who is a small business owner that wants to add 1 or 2 people to your payroll, with these issues, and healthcare is one of them, when these issues come up, it adds uncertainty to you, to your business. You're not sure what your bottom line, how it'll be affected by these pieces of legislation. It was frustrating for me to see that, and ultimately, with the stimulus vote, I decided that it was time that if I didn't step forward and offer an alternative to what was being offered in Washington, that I was no different than anyone else. And I feel that if I'm going to make something better, I need to take an active role in making it better, not just sit on the sidelines and watch it happen. And that's why I ultimately decided to run. In December 21st is when I formally announced my intentions, and at that point, there weren't any other candidates in the 10th congressional race on the Republican side, and I felt it was a duty of mine to step forward and do so.
Have you had conversations with others in the Republican Party at this point?
I did. I actually started off, before I even announced my intentions publicly, I called all the party chairmen in the 10th District. And it's a mammoth district. I'm sure all of you know, 14 counties. It's not easy to get around to those areas. I called them on the phone because I wanted to make sure they were aware of my interest. And as a county commissioner, it was natural for me to also call my peers. So I called commissioners from around the district that I had known from county commissioner conferences, and we have an informal network of folks that we bounce ideas off of. So I called some of those friends of mine that are fellow county commissioners just to get their input. And that's where I started.
Have you had state or national input from the Republican Party at this point? Any contacts?
Sure. I called the folks at the NRCC and let them know of my interest, and talked to them about the Young Guns program, which some of you may have heard of. It's a program that if you're enrolled and show success, that they'll actually match some of the contributions you receive. I did talk with them. At this point, I'm enrolled in the program, but there's several benchmarks you have to meet before you would actually get any support. And I believe that in this race, they'll wait till after the primary because there are 3 Republican candidates vying for this seat. And I think they're waiting to see what the voters really want before they direct it. One thing that I was frustrated with, and I know that I was in early conversation when John McCain asked Chris Carney to switch parties, that was a big surprise. And at that point, I was the only one in the race. And I felt that was unfortunate because we didn't see a whole lot of support from the national party in showing that there's a need for a change in this district.
And I should double check, you're 27 years old? 27. The requirement would be for age 25.
25, that's right.
Would you be the youngest if elected? Have you researched that?
I haven't researched it, no. I've been involved in politics in various forms, but my first elected office was as a borough councilman in Freeburg, my hometown, and I started there when I was 19. Did 6 years on borough council and 2 years as president. And anyone who's familiar with borough council knows that at that level, you're as close as you can possibly get to the voter. And they'll call you, whether there's someone burning in their backyard or someone that has an issue, they know exactly where to find you. And that was my first experience with politics, and I guess I caught the bug. and saw where I could make a difference. And I decided to run for county commissioner and was elected in 2007, and it's currently where I'm serving.
What is the population of Freeburg?
Freeburg is very small. We have just over 600 people, and and Snyder County itself is fairly small compared to Luzerne. We have 38,000 residents. We're a 7th-class county.
And a commissioner there is a full-time job?
It is for me. It hasn't always been the case, but when I ran, I pledged to be full-time. The commissioner's salary in Snyder County this year is, last year was $47,000, and I think I did forward Andrew a copy of my campaign finance disclosure, so you're aware of what I made last year. But I felt that level of compensation demanded a full-time commitment. And I did work at Susquehanna University prior to being elected as commissioner. But since I pledged that, I did give up employment there. And it's been very fulfilling. I do think there's so many issues at the county level that you need to become familiar with. Whether it's the county prison, and I'm chairman of the prison board. And there's many ways you can contribute to the community there. And we took a trip to Pike County before I was running for Congress to see some of the model programs that they had there. And Pike County is a very excellent facility, and they're nationally known for the steps that they've taken to reduce recidivism. And we came back with a simple formula. We started offering crocheting in our women's dormitory. And we had 4 to 6 incidents a week with inmates fighting one another. But after we brought that back, there weren't any for about 6 months. And it's so many small steps you can make at the county level to make a big difference in people's lives. And the women now are crocheting for NICU units and senior centers in our community. And every day when I go into the prison, those inmates are taking a great deal of pride in their work. And it's time that they would have maybe spent other ways by getting in arguments or something like that. So it's really being a county commissioner has been very fulfilling for me, and it's been an interesting job.
Just one other, I guess, biographical question.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that your major in college was a double major, political science and religion. What was your intent there?
Sure.
Where did you think you were headed?
I started off as a political science major. I've always been interested in the political process and studying it as a student. And actually what happened is my grandfather's a pastor. I've always had an interest in studying my religion in more detail. So I started taking a few classes here and there, and before you knew it, I had enough courses in the religion department to have a double major. So it was actually I didn't go out thinking I would major in religion, but at one point I decided, well, might as well do it. I became very close with some of the religion faculty members at the campus, and Susquehanna University has deep connections to the Lutheran heritage of the institution, so it was a good part of my life. And the other thing, while I was a student, I lived with a retired Lutheran pastor, and his name is Reverend Shaheen, and he preached in South Williamsport as well as Silver Spring, Maryland, and I became very close to him. This is sort of on the personal side, but he was in his 90s, and as a work-study student, I worked for him in his office. And over the years, we got to be very close, and when he was 92, he had a hip replacement, and he asked if I'd move in with him. So it wasn't a typical college experience. He lived across the street from the president of the university, and I ended up living in the upstairs and helping him out if he would need it. He lived in an apartment in the downstairs of the house, and I was an assistant to him for 2 years while I was going to school full-time. And it was really a good experience because the man taught me so much about correspondence and the importance of affirming the worth of everyone that you meet. And he's a really special guy that I miss deeply, but he did pass away a few years ago. But he's a vital influence in why I decided to become a religion double major.